welcome back to CyberVibeCheck. I'm so excited we've made it all the way to our 10th video as far as our first series of beginner to kind of intermediate but more beginner level cybersecurity labs and projects that you can do and add to your portfolio and your resume, your GitHub, and all that good stuff. And in this final video that we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to write an executive incident report. This shouldn't take too long. We're going to use an incident that we did in our very first project, right? So I'm going to go to Safari. I'm going to bring back to our recollection in Uptime Kuma. Let's see, we should still have it up. There we go. So with Uptime Kuma, we set up different monitors, two monitors to monitor not only clearly my home Wi-Fi, but my portfolio, which has been up half the time. It's had a few downs the past few weeks, but that's okay as long as we're documenting things are back up, things are back running. I know people going to my portfolio, it's something that definitely needs to be updated. Half of it I started out writing the HTML script for myself, and then when it got to a lot, I definitely used some vibe coding towards the end when it came to the transitions and different effects. But it needs some major updating, and that's a YouTube video I'm planning for a little bit later down the line. But it's super duper exciting. Yeah. So we set up those alerts. I get messages directly to my Discord. We use a webhook API. And then this is going to be the alert. This is from the other week. It went down to let you know when it went down, what service it was, the time, why it went down, and then when it was restored. I believe it looks like it was down for about 4 or 5 minutes. So, okay. So here we have our incident report document. This is one I created with the help of AI, just kind of setting up what the layout should be for this report. Of course, this is a confidential document. All this is very confidential, so I'm sharing it with the internet. I'm giving you permission for this confidential document. So I've already filled up my name, create the incident number, first incident 2026, incident ID, the severity is very low, it was down for 4 minutes 13 seconds, and it has been closed and it is fully resolved. The site is back up. Although this was the day of the incident, the day I'm recording this is going to be May 5th. So first, we're going to go through our executive summary. What happened? The why. So this is probably the most important section in the entire document. If a CEO reads nothing else, they are for sure going to read this. So it needs to be complete in about 3 to 4 sentences. The what happened, why it happened, and what was the cause, and then what's currently underway in order to resolve this issue if it hasn't been already resolved. So it lets you know the portfolio hosted at this website, connectivity failure resulting in a complete public unavailability, incident was automatically detected by Uptime Kuma, the static GitHub pages portfolio doesn't have it has no user data, credentials or sensitive information was at risk. It's a static GitHub page. Root cause is attributed to a transient TLS handshake failure at a network layer between the monitoring agent and the GitHub CDN infrastructure. So in these 4 sentences, I have said what broke, when, how long, what was at risk, and where we currently stand. That's the whole incident. Everything else in this document is just a supporting detail for the summary. So we're going to move right on into our incident timeline. So first, the detection. The alert was fired. As soon as it detected that it went down, I immediately got an alert to my GitHub. That is a setting I have set up, a control that I have set up within Uptime Kuma for myself. Pay mode. It's probably a little bit smarter than doing that every single time, but automated notification delivered via Uptime Kuma, learning channel, no escalation required. This was the outage. It was unavailable to public visitors. with the TLS negotiation failure. No action taken. It was just simple. It went down for a few moments. It came back up. So it was able to resolve itself. So that's just kind of a resolution supporting detail of what happened. And post-incident review completed. This report authored and corrective actions have been identified and assigned, which would be, to me, the SOC analyst in this case for my home lab. And so this would be the report, and no corrective actions were needed. It was just a self-fix system issue, and we should generally be okay. It did say it was down half the time, so we may have to go in and check the GitHub pages, which I think it's more of an issue with that more than anything. But we'll get to that. All right, so then here we're gonna go straight into our impact assessment. This is pretty much 4 questions, basic questions, what we've already answered, like in our summary. What systems were affected? What data was at risk? What was the business impact? What regulations may apply, right? And so I'm gonna go ahead and highlight the whole thing here. So here you're gonna see like GitHub, the system that was affected, hosted on the GitHub page. No data was at risk. I don't have any counts, data collection, or any sensitive info on there that somebody could try to steal through cross scripting or anything like that. We're all good to go there. May receive a connection error. There is no revenue impact because I'm not earning money from my portfolio yet. Hopefully soon. That is the goal. That is everybody's goal, is to earn money from their portfolio. But I haven't yet, so it hasn't been any revenue impact. But let's say it was a potential for revenue impact, then we would calculate that out, and that would be part of our risk assessment, right? And then no regulatory frameworks were implicated. It doesn't collect any personal data. It's not hosting any user data. It's no really regulations that need to get involved within this small system outage, right? Okay, so we're gonna go straight into our root cause analysis. These are the other 5 whys. So I'm using the 5 whys, right? The method is simple. Keep asking why until you hit the actual underlying cause, right? So my why1, why? The TLS handshake failed. Why? GitHub pages, CDN had a transient network disruption. Why did that take my whole site down? Because the site has no failover and it lives exclusively on GitHub pages. Why is there no failover? Because there's no documented hosting resilience plan, which is on me, and I should have a backup that should support the page, but like I said, it's a simple GitHub portfolio that definitely needs some updating all around. So that's something that we should put into action for us, right? So there should be what was the redundancy? You should always have some sort of redundancy for all of your systems, especially for big enterprise organizations. You will absolutely have plenty of redundancies that will be set into place. Of course, this is a home lab, so it's a little bit different, but there will be redundancies, and you should know what they are, how they work, why they work, and what is the automatic, the transfer process to getting those redundancies set up if something were to happen or go down, right? And then, of course, the 5th why, the root cause, no resilience plan, and a single provider static hosting strategy. means that any upstream on GitHub pages disruption directly results in public unavailability with no mitigation path, right? So now we're going to get into the corrective actions, what I need to do now, right? So the first thing I do, document the current hosting architecture of single points of failover for the portfolio site, right? Which says the owner, the due date, the status. You could put if it's completed, if it's not completed, if it's in progress, whatever you need to do for there, right? Evaluate Cloudflare pages or Netlify as a secondary hosting mirror for uptime redundancy. Okay, it's in progress. Configure Uptime Kuma to monitor from 2 geographic check locations to reduce false positives from regional network events. Need to work on that. And establish a monthly uptime review cadence using Uptime Kuma historical. I'm going to restart that line. And then for row 4, we're going to establish a monthly uptime review cadence using Uptime Kuma historical data to track availability trends. And I'm gonna add one more row. Okay. I still can't type my name today for some reason. And then let's say by June 1st, 2026, that's a long time away. By June 1st, we're gonna put not started, add. And so that is one thing that I'm going to add. I know that took me a second, but I'm going to add a redundancy to mitigate single provider static hosting service, right? So that, let's say if GitHub does go down, do I have a backup option? If somebody goes to this link, can they be redirected to basically another site that is still up if the first site were to go down? So super important to add. Make sure you have that. Like I said, most enterprise systems will have their own if you are not the cyber architect engineer individual and building it for yourself. They will already have a system in place for that. And so your goal then is to understand how it works, why it works, when it works, and where you step into place to make sure that you can ensure that it is working, and then be able to analyze it and understand if anything were to happen. If you did have another incident that came up, what happened? What are your 5 whys? What is your root cause? And how are you gonna? What steps are you gonna take in order to fix this issue? And so this is going to be your incident report that you can write. I'm going to include a link to this, of course, in the description for downloadable purposes for you to practice on. When you do come up with issues, when you're building your home lab, when you're working through projects, don't just use this as I have this issue, I'm just going to remember it or put it in my notes. Use this document as a tool so you can really go through and understand your whys. Because when you understand your whys, you could really explain your how-tos. And when I say that, your goal as an analyst is to be able to translate those technical findings into non-technical terminology. Not everybody's going to understand what a static single-hosted website went down because the TLS connection socket disconnected, and they're experiencing transient TLS negotiation failure. Not everybody is going to understand that. So your goal is to be able to understand your whys so you can explain your how-tos, and solve issues and really prevent issues before they arise. But also just using this as a way to document your journey through your projects, where you failed, where things went wrong, and what you did to either fix it, correct it, mitigate it, and what controls you set in place in order for this incident to not occur again. And that's going to conclude our 10 beginner cybersecurity projects to add on your resume. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this series, please give me a big thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know if you have any questions, things that you want to see happen with the next series when I get to the intermediate level. And thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this is Quentin with CyberVibeCheck, and I will see you in the next video.